Geeks, I'm Marissa Rose Gordon, and I'm here with Lizz Hill, who's a 3D printing expert. She specializes in jewelry, she has her own line and also works for Coach, and she's gonna teach us all about how 3D printing works. Lizz, thank you so much for joining us. We are so excited to have you today.
Thanks, I'm excited to be here.
Awesome, so let's jump right in. How is 3D printing affecting fashion on a larger scale?
Yeah, so I'm part of a team called the Product Visualization Team. So what I do in terms of jewelry and hardware prototyping and printing is only one small part of the greater team's capabilities. So if you were to go online right now to Coach.com, similar to something like a Nike ID, where that's been around forever, where you could go on, you could customize the colors of your sneakers. So that's becoming a really big want for the fashion industry, and that's something that has really helped bring 3D into the world of fashion.
So Lizz, can you tell me about the difference in the way that my glasses, which are plastic, were printed, and my necklace right here that is clearly metal? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
People think of 3D printing right now and they think of things like your glasses, right? And you think, oh, well, it's plastic, and plastic is cool and it's a good way to prototype, but doesn't really lend itself to fine jewelry or to metal. How do we print in metal? The glasses themselves were printed on a classic desktop 3D printer. And those really, the MakerBot wave about like 2014 really put 3D printing on the map because of desktop printers. So essentially, yours is made through a process called FDM printing, which is a typical desktop printer. And what that is you'll have a big spool, a filament spool, strapped to the back of a printer. It feeds in a single filament of plastic. It melts the plastic like a glue gun, and then it basically builds in space from floor to ceiling. To compare that to like the necklace that we keep talking about. So in this case, we would use lost wax casting, and that's a term that has been around forever in the jewelry industry. So in an older method, jewelers would take a block of wax, they would hand carve out their design, they would then cover that design in a plaster sort of bath. The plastic would melt out, the wax would melt out, and then the cavity would be replaced with metal. And they call it lost wax or investment casting. So you're investing one plastic model for one metal part. So that's how this was made. A company like Shapeways, for example, an online printing service, I would upload my model. They would then print it in the castable wax. They would then cast from that part, and they would end up with a sterling silver necklace. So that's that's how you would go use 3D printing to get a really kind of higher end, much more finished jewelry-like piece.
Wow. Can you talk to us a little bit about the software that you use? I know you just mentioned Rhino. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so Rhino 3D, it's one of the oldest 3D modeling softwares, and the jewelry industry specifically has been a big one to pick it up. Fashion's using it a bit. It's a pretty general modeling software. It does have a long learning curve, but it's not so cumbersome that it would take someone 6 months to a year to learn. Someone could really sit down and dedicate time and learn it in a few months and get somewhat proficient.
Oh, that's great. Is there software that someone like me who has no idea about designing or 3D printing, is there software out there that we could use?
There are great intro softwares. So Tinkercad is one that comes to mind that I teach workshops, in fact, for children, for middle school kids. And a middle schooler can sit down and use this browser-based software just on any computer. They don't need some fancy, high-end computer. And they can start to feel like they're 3D modeling something, in a matter of hours, as opposed to months and years.
So Lizz, what are the benefits of 3D printing?
As a small designer, I now no longer have to be burdened by, am I making something that is mass marketable? I can make something like a freak ring, I
love that.
Thanks. It's a popular one. But this really allows me or someone like myself to be able to create something that's highly unique. I can go after a certain kind of client and a certain customer that wants really unique avant-garde products, designs, and I don't have to worry about having to run 100 of them in production. But the cost to me is no different.
Lizz, so I'm loving your bandana. Is this a part of your personal aesthetic?
It is. So this was a functional thing at first because I work in a kind of a dirty 3D print lab, so it just was keeping the hair out of the face, but it sort of turned into my signature piece. I ended up modeling this piece called the Rosie Ring. The movement for women is huge, and so when I made this piece, it really resonated. And I ended up finding this organization in Philadelphia called Tech Girls. So they're a nonprofit, and their whole purpose is to close the gender gap in technology-related occupations.
So how can our geeks at home follow up and learn more about what you're doing?
Yeah, so there's a few ways to contact me. I have a website, lizhill.tech.
Check it out immediately.
I also, I mentioned Shapeways before. I sell my own product, a lot of what we've talked about here on Shapeways, but I really try and keep things as affordable as possible.
Thank you so much for being here today, Liz.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome.